Well, that brings us to the Suicide Squad, which just so happens to be a soft reboot remaster. Can I get a hallelujah? I was tricked again. I do like it, and I actually do, in fact, like it more than the original. I know that we're probably going to disagree on that, but I like it more than the original. But one of the things I don't like, which I think the original kind of was a part of starting, is that it relies too much on irony and ironic humor in order to formulate its story. And it's easier. In philosophy, there's this idea of like, oh, if you're ironic, you can't be criticized because you're supposed to be not taken seriously. You're supposed to be acting silly. It's like, yes, but that means my reaction and my reception to it will also not be serious, and it will also be silly. I'm not going to put this at the same level as, let's say, Man of Steel, Joker, whatever, right? Because it doesn't take itself seriously in that way. What do you have to say?
Well, so when you say irony, what do you mean exactly? Irony through storytelling?
So, usually when we're talking about irony, like if we're going by literal definition, it's something happening not the way you'd expect. So
okay, so comedy through unexpected gags, really.
Yeah, but there actually comes a point for where now it's not ironic anymore. I expect it. Let me give you an example. People who walk around wearing a Mountain Dew t-shirt, they usually aren't wearing it because they literally are trying to evangelize about Mountain Dew. They're not trying to say, guys, I really want you to drink more Mountain Dew. No, they're doing it because they think it's a fun way to express a little bit of quirkiness, like, hey, look at this design, woohoo, bubbly, kind of thing. They're supposed to be looking laid back, blah, 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 right? And I understand that because I have that implemented in some aspects of my character and, attitude in some things. But the real purpose, a lot of the time when people act ironic, like you hear people all the time online say, I'm such trash. Surely, I hope they don't really think they are trash. But if they do think they're trash, when they say they're trash in a comedic way, you can't criticize that because they themselves aren't critical of themselves in such a way. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that if you only present everything as a joke, you can't judge it in a serious manner because it can hide behind the fact that it's, oh, well, I'm just being funny. And it's like, yes, I know, but that's what I'm saying is like, that doesn't mean I can't criticize you. And just like a person who says, well, I'm just trash. It's like, yeah, I understand that you're trying to be ironic like that. I'm still going to criticize you. I know you're trying. Some people use that as a defense, is that if you're just so ironic, and I think that's what Suicide Squad does to some extent, is that if you make characters that don't take themselves seriously, then you're not going to have to criticize them in a serious way because they don't take themselves seriously. Why should you? And I'm like, well, that's cowardly. That's a filmmaker's coward's way out. And I see it more and more, mostly in Disney films. And what do you know? Wait a minute. This isn't Disney.
No, Warner Brothers. But James Gunn, he started at Disney, I guess.
Oh, yes! That's true.
Well, I think you're right. I think the plot is the major issue with this film. And I think that sense of irony is apparent ever since Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was good. I loved it. I think a lot of people liked it because it did have the humor in it. But it didn't dominate the overall story. And for those of you who don't know, James Gunn directed both Guardians of the Galaxy and this new Suicide Squad reboot.
Good times.
But I just think he lost it in the second one, and we're seeing that same thing in the Suicide Squad, where we just have a repeated amount of gags thrown in your face, to where and it's covering a story that isn't exciting, doesn't motivate me in any way. Yeah. But people love it because, they love the gags, but it doesn't help show that it's an empty movie at the end of the day.
And you know what's actually... Oh, I'm sorry. Were you about to...
No, go ahead.
No, what's interesting is that if this was what it was like in the comics, not that I'm a Suicide Squad comics expert, but there's been many different iterations of the Suicide Squad in video games and media and such, cartoons, all that such, for where they do take themselves seriously. Just because Harley Quinn is on the team doesn't mean everybody doesn't take themselves seriously, right?
Right.
You can have, your even in the original Suicide Squad movie that came out, I would like to think everybody on that team took themselves seriously except for Harley Quinn. She was the only one who didn't. Everybody else was pretty dead serious as to what they were there for. And it was a little dark in that sense. But Harley Quinn is supposed to be like that. That's according to her character. That doesn't mean everybody else is that way, and it wouldn't make sense if everybody else was. In fact, it takes away from Harley Quinn's character if everybody else is that way. Because that doesn't make Harley Quinn look that weird anymore. It's like, well, this is how the rest of the world is. But, moreover, I lost my train of thought. You go ahead, Joe.
Well, and I think that's the issue. The issue with this movie is plot and characters. I personally didn't like it. I
loved it. It was the best movie I've ever seen. Go on.
I thought, no. Halfway through, I was in the theater and I was like, I want to leave. It's terrible. It was so boring, and there was nothing there that I could pinpoint that would make me want to stay. But I stayed and I saw the whole thing, and I thought
Ratcatcher was cute.
Get better at the end.
Ratcatcher too.
But yeah, going in line with these characters, they're just very hollow. You knock on them, they're tin. They don't have any depth to them. Peacemaker is just this just annoying guy this whole movie.
And frankly, he probably has more depth than other ones, but go on.
Honestly, yeah. Bloodsport, who is arguably the main protagonist, is just... okay, he has character arc. I can see how he grows as a character from this guy who just doesn't want to be there at all to someone who's actually caring. But it doesn't feel real to me. Ratcatcher, there are some good things. Polka Dot Man, I can see their arcs and I can see where they've come. But I think when you're bringing it into the grand scheme of the plot of the movie, and you're having all these random jokes thrown at you, and all this random stuff happening that you just didn't expect, it's a plot that's competing for laughs and depth at the same time, and both are not doing a very good job.
Well, they also they pulled a Ryan Johnson of Episode A, for where you do so much you try to make the audience go, I wasn't seeing that coming. I didn't see that coming. On top of, and combine that with humor of, I didn't expect them to say that. I didn't expect them to do that. Right. And it's like, okay, I get it. That's the whole movie. To the point for where when spoiler everyone, when Polka Dot Man died, I knew like 10 seconds before he died that he was going to die then. When I saw the trailer and I saw him go, I'm a superhero, I was like, he's going to die in the next second, isn't he? I can see it. It's such an obvious, like, you get it? Because he was celebrating and then he lost. Get it? When that guy was confessing to Harley Quinn about all that and then he died from Harley Quinn. Get it? When Harley Quinn was getting tortured, but then she killed them all unexpectedly easy with all the flowers. It's like, shut up! Shut up! I got it! I get it!
Well, it's interesting,
I get the trope.
Well, comedy relies on surprising the audience, right? It's not funny if you see it coming. And so James Gunn is using that to create this movie where, oh man, I didn't see that coming. Like, ever since the beginning of the movie where everyone just gets flat out killed, you constantly have this pattern of just this random stuff happening. But like you said, it becomes predictable. And I would even argue that it's not funny from the beginning, right? Like, I think when you start the movie off by killing all the people that you thought were going to be main characters, you pass this line where it's not unexpected in a funny way anymore. It's like unexpected in a disturbing way, because there's rules to plot telling, there's rules to storytelling, and I think he honestly purposely breaks these rules in a lot of aspects. And I encourage creativity and I encourage doing different things with your script, but I think I, as an audience member, was just, at the beginning I was annoyed and unsettled, personally because they killed Weasel, which I thought was like the best part of the movie. Which I guess they didn't. I don't know. I'm confused. But then you have that, which kind of leaves me as an audience member unsettled, and then you proceed into the rest of the movie, which follows now this formula of random things that now you're expecting it. Now the plot is slowing down. Now there's exposition, and now I'm just frankly bored. And then you're introducing new characters like these these freedom fighter people, and I just don't have a reason to care anymore.
And Starro. Yeah, remember the freedom fighter thing? Wait a minute,
Ugh,
that was out of nowhere. They must have
that was
deleted some
boring.
scenes because you see him for like 3 seconds at the beginning. Literally, it's only there for a joke. It's clearly there for a joke, for where they Peacemaker and Bloodsport, boom, 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 kills all these rebels. Goes up to the lady and said, "Oops, we killed all of them." What was her response? "These were our men." Well, anyways. What? What? Are you kidding? This is the most terrible thing that's ever happened. These are villains on top of... This is the worst villainy ever. But, oh well, let's work together. Whatever. What irony, am I right? And
Yes,
we
yes.
never once see them again until the very, very final battle in which these characters just show up with guns and to the governor's office and says, "You're dead, mate." And then we see one last shot on the news with them in it. And it's like, wait a minute. I completely forgot that was even happening. There's a revolution going on? Oh. What are we here for again? What are we here for? Oh, yeah, the documents. Oh, wait a minute. What's that? Starro. Whoa! Big boss fight. Okay, check that off the list. Wow. That escalated. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm being
it's
silly. I
serious.
don't know. I love this movie.
Well,
What am I talking about?
like it's okay to have plot holes. A lot of people I've been talking to recently are killing their brains trying to figure out plot holes and make sure there's none. And I think at the end of the day, if you have a really good story, and you're really good at filmmaking, the plot holes aren't going to matter. I just think
No.
in this movie they're really evident because you as an audience member start to get bored pretty quickly.
No?
But I mean, he throws, a lot, like you say, a lot of the big boom boom in there. He got a giant starfish, like hypnotizing people.
No.
It is definitely an original movie. It is crazy weird.
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't sell itself.
What would you want more of, would you say?
Well, I'm going to be honest. When I saw the trailer, I didn't like it. I was like, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
I watched the movie because critics liked it, which I'm now. I guess we're critics technically, but I now think critics are idiots after all the
Yeah.
wrong they've done me. But if you're
Yeah.
asking what would I like differently, I think I would have appreciated a movie more that did find a balance between taking itself seriously and having the comedy. I think
Yeah.
I think the movie fails in the same way I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 failed, in that there's just too many jokes for me to feel grounded. I think you could
Yeah.
have added a lot more serious elements, and I think you could have just written it better. And I mean, I think if I could borrow maybe from the old Suicide Squad, the parts I liked about that were that mostly just the Harley and Joker. I'll tell you what, I would like this film better if it was just a Harley and Joker film, and you got rid of everyone else.
No.
Like, I think you need to identify a good story when you see it, and I think if someone came up to me and pitched this movie about these guys in the middle of a South American country, I forget what country it is, Central American country, trying to kill this giant starfish,
No.
I just wouldn't. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, we got to make this movie. You know?
Yeah, it is a little random, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
So to
Starro.
ask me,
I've
what
never
I
even heard of that.
right, right, me neither. And I think
And
it's
I had to
cool
look it up.
do that. Yeah, I just think to ask me what I would have wanted more, I didn't want the movie at all. If I'm being fair.
And I didn't want Birds of Prey either, and I haven't seen that one. But,
Yeah,
you know,
that one.
I don't know.
That one has its
What'd you
moments, but I don't know. They're just
Yeah?
dropping the ball on a lot of these movies, and I think it's because they're not bringing it back to what it's supposed to be. And I don't know. The Batman hasn't come out, but I'm constantly telling people to watch the trailer, and I'm constantly telling people they should be excited
Yeah.
for it, because what I'm seeing from that movie is you have a director who's passionate, who's bringing an entirely new perspective on the character, who's staying true to what that character is, while also adding these new elements. He's telling his own story with a property that's been used over and over again. And I love
Yeah.
James Gunn and his creativity, but I just I need more than like this repeating cycle of gags. I need something that resonates with me as an audience
Yeah,
member. You know?
yeah. You know, that's the thing is that is this the kind of film that I'd want to watch again?
Huh.
For me, yes, but I think there is a sense for where I cannot look at this film as any more than a laughing, chill, fun time. I would never, but I'll give you this. I like a lot of the cinematography in this. There are specific shots
Yes.
for I'm just like, that was awesome.
Hmm.
Wow, that's inspiring for me. I loved it when Peacemaker and Rick Flag were fighting, and they used the helmet, and were just circling the helmet and showing their fight in the reflection. I was like, that's so cool. They didn't have to do that, but
That
they
was
chose to
really
do that.
done.
I
Even
liked that.
even a butt in. I'm sorry, but just like the use of the environment as your fight,
Yeah,
I thought that was really
yeah,
creative, and I really did enjoy that.
yeah, dude. So in the end, actually, I don't know if anybody knows this. I do actually like this movie. I actually like this movie. I think it's better than most of the DC things I've seen for me. Um, but that's kind of weird being said because it's also the least serious DC movie I think I have seen. And if somebody was to ask me, do you want DC movies to go this direction? I'd say no. Goodness, no. No. In fact, the thing that with like Zack Snyder's Justice League, it is the exact opposite. It is the antithesis of what the Suicide Squad was, which is that it takes itself so seriously and
Right.
it's willfully long, 4 hours, because it's like this isn't just about throwing a story at people's faces and saying give me money. It's about like this is like we want to tell this story for what it is. Like tell the story, tell the full story. Doesn't matter how long it is because, like a book, we're gonna make it as long as it needs to be in order for you to feel what we want you to feel. That's a part of art. That's the point of art. Back in the
Right.
day we used to do that. Movies
Right.
used to be crazy long back in the day. We put intermissions
Yeah, you're right.
in films because we're like, we want people to feel it. And most of the time in those movies, they were just talking, right? Now we have all these effects and we say big boom boom and make it an hour and a half. And it's like, well, okay, and that's fine. Maybe you can do it in an hour and a half, but don't expect it to be anything more than a ride that you get on and then get off and say, okay, what's next? Rather than look back and say, now that is something I want to show my kids. I don't know if I want to show my kids the Suicide Squad, and not just because it's an R rating.
Fair.
I'm just like, oh, it's not a legacy kind of movie. I wouldn't say this was the movie. This was it. When we finally realized, no, it's just another one in the dozens of its kind. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it does blend in. It does blend in, sadly. But I mean, no shame to James Gunn. Like we said earlier, his filmmaking is incredible. The movie
Yeah.
does have a lot of positive elements to it, and I mean, at the end of the day, there is some pretty good heartfelt relationships between the characters. But
Yeah, I love Ratcatcher.
yeah,
Two.
Ratcatcher 2.
Not
That was
one. I
fun.
hate him.
You think they'll make a sequel?
Oh. They're making that Peacemaker show.
Oh, that's right. That was another thing I hated. Why did they have to kill Rick Flag?
Yeah, it would seem like I know they had to make sure you knew he died by showing the heart for some reason.
Oh, I
'Cause
forgot
think
about
it
that.
was.
Oh,
Yeah. Did
I
that
forgot
disturb you?
about. No, yeah, that was another thing. This movie was just disgusting. There were so many times I was like, "Why are you showing me this?" On so many
Yeah.
levels, and that was one of them.
Not. I don't want to get weird, but I'm gonna get weird. I'm gonna talk about that scene that nobody wants to talk about.
Oh no.
When Peacemaker, yep, I'm gonna talk about when
Oh.
Peacemaker and Bloodsport. It may not be. There's two scenes, but this is the one I'm talking about. When Peacemaker and Bloodsport were going through that camp, there was this
Oh,
one dude who
God.
looked like what's his name, Drax, coming out of the shed, and he was naked from the bottom half down, and I had to ask myself, why did
Oh, that was so disgusting.
why did James Gunn say, you know what we need? Give me $3,000 right now. I need to pay somebody to stand over there with his pants off and get shot. I need this in this scene. I need this right now. People in the audience are going to say, "Oh, thank God! What a rewarding scene. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for showing I and my wife that man gets shot pantsless. And really, I mean, like, what kind of revolution is this anyways, for where guys are just walking around naked? I don't know. What? It's not a big deal, but it is. I'm questioning. I'm like, what department? Because I know as a filmmaker, none of this, it doesn't just happen. You hired somebody who normally does this kind of thing. You don't just call a random actor saying, hey, get naked. It's like you hired somebody who willfully gets naked, brought him out to the forest, say, okay, pretend to get shot with that coffee mug in your hand. It's going to be, people are going to say, hey, look, you're naked. Haha. And what? It was out of nowhere. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to bring it up. James Gunn, we're watching you.
I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was in shock. I was standing in my
that scene.
Yeah, I was sitting in my chair, and I was like, I mean, first of all, if I can be crass, that guy had the biggest schlong I've ever seen. Like, not that I've seen much, but it was disgusting. And I was in the theater with my girlfriend. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is gross. Yeah, I was just annoyed. But
that's also the bigger reason why I wouldn't show it to my kids. But
well, there's something to be said for nudity as like a tool, right? Like I can understand horror movies that use nudity because it's unsettling, right? Yeah. It's a specific tool to create like this sense of unsettling. Even if this was like a war movie, I could get it because you're unsettled by war. But this is an action comedy superhero film. Why is that there? Like you said, there's no justification for it.
I'm just trying to think of the thought process, right? It's like, it's not like it's I think I'm not laughing at it. I'm shocked by the out of nowhere it was, but I'd be just as shocked if that happened at any point in the film. That's the point. It's like nothing about this scene made it more uniquely justified to have this guy come out naked and just boom, and just like that was out of nowhere. Are you saying that if these guys didn't come out here, that guy would have opened the curtain and just stand with a shirt on but nothing else? What kind of revolutionaries are these, after all? Why is he half naked? What's going on? I don't know.
I think that one scene just sets the tone for the whole movie, and just how there's so many things that's like, why was that there? Why did we need that? Even like, I don't know, we could go all day on this, but like the flesh-eating, like weird piranha CG creatures that look like they're like kid 3D animated cartoon level. Why are they in there? Like none of it's almost like James Gunn was just like, we need this, throw that in there, let's put that there. And they were just handing him money. But whatever.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I want to know the person out there who was like, yes, when I went into this theater, I was hoping, I was crossing my fingers as to seeing that man, like a man, come out, half naked. And when I mean half naked, I mean quite literally half naked, like bottom half naked, top half not naked. And I want to see him get shot, but I want him to stand there proud with a cup of coffee before getting shot. That's what I'm asking for. That's what the fans want. Warner Brothers, that's what the fans are asking for. Not another Superman movie. A guy who looks like Drax, half naked, in Suicide Squad. Thank you. I paid my ticket. Well spent.
Wait, was that Drax? Was that a Dave Bautista cameo?
No, but could you imagine? Come on. Now we gotta look it up. Search up the credits.
Dave Bautista.
It just looked like Bautista.
Oh well, I guess we could end there. That's a pretty good note.
Oh my, that's right, because this is a good summary of the film before. And I loved it, but Joyo, I don't know what he didn't love. I don't understand. I mean, it was great. All I'm saying is that I hope films don't try to take what's happened in this one and say, yes, there's the method. I'm like, no. Just because it did it this way, I think the only way it can stay good is if it's the only one this way.
Right.
Oh, that was the point I was going to make. Is that, at least in the comics, Deadpool is this way. Deadpool has always been, from his origins, an ironic, funny guy. It's a part of his comic. It's a part of his character. He breaks the fourth wall since the beginning. Suicide Squad wasn't. So it's
Right.
not built into the chemistry of the comics. It's not built into the history therein. Yet that's an essential thing in this. And I'm saying if everything becomes like that, then things like Deadpool, which is actually that way, doesn't become as unique or good, in my opinion. Stone me.
Right. No, you're right. Well, and even Deadpool, I would say, had a more. He was even more grounded. I felt like because you had the comedy, but it had a
Yeah,
pretty good storyline. It had pretty good motivations. I mean,
that's true.
romance, whatever. But yeah.
He is the only one in that. Well, I can't say he's the only one, but even like especially in the first one, I haven't seen all the second one.
Mm-hmm.
There are serious moments. It's only
Right.
because of his character are there goofy moments. It's not that the universe itself is goofy. It's that Deadpool himself is goofy, right? And that
Right.
puts him in goofy scenarios. But the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
world needs to be grounded in order for him to be goofy. However, in
Right.
the Suicide Squad movie, it's like, well, the world is goofy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right. You're right. Well, it is what it is. What do we got next on DC? Do we know?